we're going to be doing a deep dive soon.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah. Into Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people think of Meals on Wheels and they think, oh, food delivery for seniors, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more to it.
Oh, there's so much more to it. I mean, you're right. At its most basic level, it is delivering food to seniors, to people who need it, who can't get out of the house.
Yeah.
But it goes so far beyond that.
So tell me, what's the mission of this deep dive? What do we want to find out about Meals on Wheels?
Well, what we want to find out is, how do these programs actually work? How do they get the food? Where does the money come from? And what kind of impact do they have? Because I think you'd be surprised by how much of an impact these programs have, not just on the people receiving the meals, but on the community as a whole.
Yeah, that's what I'm really interested in. Like, we're going to be using information from Meals on Wheels of the Monterey Peninsula.
Okay, great.
Wow.
MOWMP.
MOWMP. Yeah, that's going to be our source for a lot of this. But I want to look at, how is it helping people beyond just, getting a hot meal?
Absolutely. Because, it's easy to think, oh, it's just food. But you have to think about what happens when someone can't get food for themselves.
Right.
What happens when they're not able to go to the grocery store? They're not able to cook for themselves. That's when their health really starts to decline.
So they're at risk then, I guess, for malnutrition, right?
Absolutely. Malnutrition, which then leads to a whole host of other problems: chronic illness, diabetes, heart disease. It can even increase the risk of falls.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And so, Meals on Wheels is really stepping in to help prevent those things from happening by providing those essential nutrients.
It's like they're almost acting as a preventative measure for healthcare.
Exactly. Because when you're preventing those health issues, you're then reducing the need for expensive treatments, hospital visits, and all the stress that comes with having to manage a chronic condition.
So it's both like helping people's health and like saving money at the same time.
Absolutely. And improving their quality of life, too, because they're able to stay in their own homes, which is something that a lot of seniors really value.
That's really important, I would imagine, for someone in that position.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about, how does Meals on Wheels actually work? So do they just deliver food to anyone who says, hey, I'd like a meal?
So it's not quite that simple. They actually work very closely with healthcare providers and social workers to identify people who would benefit the most from this program. They really look at things like, okay, what are their dietary restrictions? Do they have any medical conditions? Even social isolation is a really big factor that they consider.
Social isolation. Yeah. So that's interesting to me. I mean, we all know that being around other people is good for us, but how does that play into this?
It's huge. And it's actually, they say loneliness is as detrimental to your health as smoking.
Really?
Yeah, it's that bad. It can lead to depression, anxiety, cognitive decline. And so, for seniors, especially those who live alone, that social interaction is so important.
Yeah, but how does a food delivery service help with that? I mean, are they sitting down and having tea with every person?
They're not having tea, but even that short interaction that they have with the volunteer who is delivering the meal can make a world of difference. Those volunteers are trained to check in on the clients, make sure they're doing okay, have a little chat, ask them how their day's going.
So that little bit of human connection can be really important.
Huge. Absolutely huge. It could be the highlight of their day for someone who lives alone and doesn't get to see people very often.
Wow, this is so interesting. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the food part of it, but you're already showing me how much more it is than just dropping off a plate of food, right?
Oh, absolutely. They say it's more than just a meal. It's about nourishment for the body and the soul. And there's a really great story about a retired Navy veteran named Frank. He was helped by MOWMP. This guy, he used to be the life of the party, but he had a stroke and ended up in a wheelchair.
Oh, no.
Pretty isolated.
I can only imagine how difficult that would be for him, going from being so social and, outgoing to being stuck at home.
Absolutely. And that's where that human touch really comes in. So Frank's Meals on Wheels volunteer, his name was Miguel, he went above and beyond. He found out that Frank loved jazz music, so he would bring a portable speaker with him and play some of Frank's favorite tunes while he was delivering the meal.
Really, out of his own home.
Yeah, his own speaker. And so suddenly, it wasn't just about the food, it was about sharing memories, having a conversation, and reminding Frank that he was still connected to the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a simple thing, but it obviously meant a lot to Frank.
Right, exactly. And it just shows how much of a difference these volunteers can make in the lives of the people they're serving. It's about that human connection, that compassion.
It's inspiring. It makes you think, how many other, Miguels are out
Mhm.
there doing this kind of stuff and, we don't even know about.
Absolutely.
So I'm really starting to see how these programs are about so much more than just the food.
You got it. You got it. It's about addressing the whole person. It's their physical needs, their mental and emotional well-being, their connection to the community.
And it all starts with something as simple as a meal.
A meal, yeah, that's what's so amazing about it.
Well, this is fascinating. I'm hooked. This is way more than I thought it was going to be.
So you've got the food, the delicious, healthy food, prepped and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it get to the people? How does it actually get from the kitchen to the doorstep?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And that's where the volunteers come in.
Oh, okay.
They are the heart and soul,
The backbone.
the backbone of this entire operation, yeah. For MOWMP, and really any program like this, the volunteers are just so crucial. They pick up the meals, they plan out the routes.
So they use their own cars and their own, wow.
Yeah, they're using their own time, their own gas, everything.
Oh, no, that's dedication.
It is, and
Yeah.
they deliver these meals with a smile, and they check in on the clients. It's just incredible.
It must take a special kind of person to do that, right?
It does. Everyone has their reasons for volunteering, right? Some people, they have a personal connection to the cause. Maybe they've seen a loved one, struggle with aging or illness.
Uh-huh.
Other people just want to give back to their community, make a difference in someone's life. But no matter the reason, their contribution is just invaluable.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have.
It's amazing to see how much goes on behind the scenes to make these programs work.
Absolutely.
But what about the bigger picture?
Okay.
Like, what kind of impact do these programs have on society as a whole?
That's a great question. And I think it's important to remember that these programs are about so much more than just delivering meals.
Uh-huh.
They're about building a more compassionate and inclusive society.
Yeah.
They're about recognizing the dignity of every individual and ensuring that everyone has access to basic necessities.
That's powerful.
It is. And, it's regardless of their age or their ability or their circumstances.
It's funny. When we started this, I thought we'd be talking about food and logistics.
I know.
But it's really become a conversation about community and connection.
Absolutely. And ultimately, it's about the kind of society we want to live in, right?
Exactly. One where everyone feels valued and supported and connected.
And I think these programs offer a really powerful model for how we can achieve that.
Well said. This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've gone from the individual impact of a single meal to the broader implications for our communities and really for society as a whole.
Yeah, and I think it just goes to show that sometimes the simplest acts of kindness can have the most profound ripple effects.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to our listeners out there, what small act of kindness will you ripple out into the world today?
We all have the power to make a difference.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of home-delivered meal programs.
It's been great.
We'll see you next time. Happy diving.